Welcome back to Terpyhighs, back with another video for the channel. Today we're starting out in the new facility for the channel, which is about 2,000 square meters in size and currently has 600 lights in the space. We'll be taking a full tour of this. We just took it over a couple days ago. So we're gonna go over the current layout and what I wanna change to make it efficient for my operations and moving forward. Not only that, but we're gonna head over to our 300 light facility that you've seen on the channel previously that I built over the last year and a half or so. You guys have had many questions about that space, so we will give you a good update on that, along with the cafe and the greenhouse property. So let's take a quick walk around the entire building here and go over some of its features it has and what I want to change for the future. So let's head into the veg room that's located right next to me here. This space is oversized for the facility. This is the veg room. It has 176 lights currently in it and a lot of overhead air conditioning units, which you can see located mounted on the ceiling. The dehumidifiers in this space and every other grow room in this building are severely undersized. So that's one major thing we'll have to take care of before we do any growing in here is upgrade the dehumidification in these grow rooms. Overall, you can see it's pretty basic space. All the drain lines for all the tables have not been connected. I'm not sure what they were doing previously, but both the upper level and the lower levels do not have any drain systems set up, nor do they have any automatic irrigation systems. As we walk down, you can see we have decent amount of airflow from all these clip fans located across the entire space. Not so much on the second level. As you can see, I'm not sure if they use this. I've never seen pictures or video of this facility in operations, but I do know over the last 6 months, they haven't been operating at all. So let's take a walk down to the back and take a view from down there. So down at the back of the room, you can see again, none of the drain lines have been set up. I think they were just draining into buckets possibly. And these fans here located on both the front and the back of the grow tables do not actually do anything. They're not sized properly for the space. So that's one thing we'll be getting rid of just to clean up the look of everything. You can see they have these control monitors or interfaces located at all different spaces in the grow room. This one's controlling the dehumidifiers located on the ceiling. So we're gonna clean up a lot of different things that we like to be more organized about our facilities. Not saying anything bad about the previous owners. There's 1,000 ways to go about building a facility and operating it. We'll have to make some changes for things that we know work for our operations and keep things efficient and organized. Okay, we're back at the front of the veg room. Just wanted to show you guys a quick look at our CO2 system that's located in every single room here. We have the hard pipes wired, so there's a skid outside of the building with a bunch of CO2 tanks. Then we have our solenoid here connected. Actually, I'm gonna unplug that because it seems to be fully on when not being used. And then this is the CO2 controller that turns on and off the regulator up here, keeping our CO2 ppm in the room at our desired levels. So let's head into the main room again. We'll talk about some things that we've already completed. As I'll throw over the screen right now some clips of a few days ago when we took over the property. There's been about 3 days worth of work completed by the 3 staff that we have on hand right now. All this stuff that you see in the center room was actually located in the irrigation room, which we'll take a look at after. Here is our brand new RO system. Previously, they didn't use any RO water in the irrigation strategy in here. So we bought a brand new 6,000 liter system, which will be installed into the irrigation room at a later date. We just emptied that space from all this extra storage and supplies that they had in there. Number 9, which we'll see after, has a bunch more equipment in there. So right here next to me is flower room number 1. You can see that they tried to do a automatic irrigation system in here for one run. This is the only room that had the automated irrigation system in here. Unfortunately, it was semi-automatic. It wasn't on a timer, I don't believe, and it was just a pump that they turned on manually and off when needed. So that's one thing we'll be fully redoing in here and every other room going forward. Every room will be fully automated, both the environmental controls and the irrigation systems in here. Right here on the wall, you can see how the air conditioning units are controlled just by your regular thermostat, which is not ideal for actual grow room, as you want the sensors to be actually in the canopy and inside the grow space, not located on the wall where there's ample airflow. You want to have the sensor located where the least desirable or least amount of airflow is, so you can really take out those micro environmental conditions that might happen across the entire space in here. But every room, 8 rooms we have in here, like this one. So you can see there's 3 rows, 3 zones. Each light is between 650 and 700 watts, depending on the space, as they have 4 different brand or models of lights in this entire space. So let's take a walk farther down. You can see that they have all the wall-mounted oscillating fans, which is not my first choice, but this is what it is set up currently. So we'll be rocking this for a couple runs as we get this facility online. Above the lights, you can see that they have some oscillating fans above the lights for air circulation up there, and not enough airflow under the tables, which will be improving once we get these places modified to our liking. Let's go down to the back and take a look down there. So we're back here at the back of the flower room number 1. You can see that there's a little bit of space between the back wall and the tables. We will set up some type of drain line system back here, since these tables do not have drains for the irrigation. It's just a straight down shot to the ground, nothing under there. I'm assuming that they just used buckets to collect the water down there, but we will take care of that to make it more automated so the staff don't have to worry about that in the future, as we're trying to take out as much human error out of this facility as possible as we upgrade everything. So you can see that they have, just below the grow lights here, we have some circulation fans or inline fans to really push some air from the back of the room to the front of the room. Definitely not optimal or sized properly. We will have to change that up in the future. Okay, so that was a quick look at flower room number 1. Let's head over to the next 7 rooms that are all pretty much identical, but we'll give you a quick tour so you can see everything in its current condition as we take it over. So flower room number 2, pretty much the same layout. You can see that they didn't have the automated irrigation system in here done at all, but all the fans, lights, everything identical, and the dehumidification in here. I believe they have 4 dehumidifiers in here, or 2. Anyways, we purchased 8 large stand-up units for dehumidification, which brings our pints per day up to the optimal level. A good rule that I like to follow is anywhere between 50 and 70 pints per day per light. So if you have 45 lights in here, times that by 60 to give you a good range, and you'll have ample dehumidification power to never have to worry about mold or high humidity in your space at any stage of the grow. So over here, you can see, and again, we have that same CO2 system with the regulator and controller. These sensors we will be replacing with something else to fully automate this, but I really do like how they have the CO2 coming in hard piped into each room connected to a regulator. That's one thing we will be keeping. We'll just standardize the sensors and the automation to make things more easy for the staff and myself overview or control, not only while I'm at the facility or if I have to do it remotely when I'm at any of the other locations. So let's go into the next room. Pretty much let's quick look at that one. Flower room number 3 over here. I've already got the staff to remove all the grow lights in here, so we won't be spending too much time in here in this one. They had a different type of light in here that had UV in it, and the UV could not be turned off. It was on no matter any time if the lights were on or off. You had the power, the UV was on. So got rid of those lights. We'll just sell those off to somebody else, and we will be replacing them with other lights that we have in the property while we get going. And then in the future, we will be replacing all the lights in the facility along with the HVAC systems later on once we're operating. But just to get going, we're using what's in the property, what we can be used, and then upgrading a few things. This general space, same thing, 45 lights, 3 tables, CO2 systems, everything, they're exactly the same. So flower room number 4, guys can take a quick look. We'll throw some cinematic shots over this, maybe a little B-roll segment of rooms 4, 5, 6, and 7, and 8, as they are all identical. We'll just walk through each one just quickly so you guys can see that also. Not really much more to explain over these grow spaces, but you guys get the general idea as we walk through. I would like to see that the flooring was all epoxy coated in this space, which you will see when we go over the 300 light facility in Pattaya. I ended up getting that entire flooring covered in epoxy, and it really transformed the space and looks so much more cleaner and professional. Flower room 6, identical. Actually, one thing that's different in this room is the power panel, the breaker panel. So you can see it's labeled, all clearly identified. One thing I don't like about this design compared to how I built out my 300 light facility is each panel should be located for each room, not having 3 rooms on one panel and located inside the grow room. So if there's ever a problem with this, while the lights are off, it's gonna be an issue, somebody coming in here having to turn on the lights and deal with this while the lights are off with flowering plants, which increases the chance of hermaphrodites or stress to the plant that isn't needed. That panel controls the rooms 4, 5, and 6, I believe. And then there's another panel located up there in flower room 8 that controls 3 or 4 other rooms. That's just different people building different facilities have different ideas of what's optimal or looks good or easy to maintain. So flower room 7, you guys get the general idea, all the exact same situation. The only real difference between the rooms are a little bit of more dehumidification per room. So this one they added, let's take a walk down there. They added another dehumidifier in the middle of the room here to increase the dehumidification power because they were actually not able to control the humidity in these areas enough. So they added a couple here, which they said did help, but did not fix the issue completely. So that's why we have more stand-up units coming into these spaces, so we won't have to worry about that in the future. Once we get some harvests under our belt and things are moving again, we will fully redo all the systems in here. But this is the general overview for what's going on just to get going. Okay, so that's it for room number 7. Let's head over into number 8. I know it's a little bit repetitive looking at all 8 rooms, pretty much identical, but I want to show you guys the current condition, how I'm taking over the facility. As you can see, there's still trellis netting from their last run in here, so that will need to be cleaned up, and a few other things. There was actually a fire in number 9 previously, which you guys will see next, but you can see still smoke stains and everything in this room located on the ground. Nothing was too damaged in here too much, just some smoke damage in this room, which they cleaned up quite a bit, but it ruined the harvest when they were in here. So we'll go into room number 9 and you guys will see the damage that was caused over here. So the previous owners in room number 9, this was set up with 4 tables. So this room's a little bit bigger than the other 8 flower rooms. So this is flower room number 9. Let's head down to the light so it's a little bit easier to film. Everything in here is pretty much brand new. Everything's being replaced, it just has not been set up yet. So this is a much bigger room. My plan in the future is to make this the vegetative room, since the current veg room is far oversized for this facility. So this will be the veg room in the future, I hope. Still a lot to accomplish. As you can see, there's no air conditionings mounted on the ceiling anymore. They all are on the ground right now. Storage or throw all location. Let's get out of here since there's not very good lighting in here. Great space, perfectly sized for veg space for what we have going on in the rest of the facility. We'll have to decide a few different things going forward once we're fully operational. We already mentioned this previously, but all the nutrients and the equipment storage that we had in the water tank room is now all out here. So let's go into the water tank room and you can see how empty and nice it is now. So we have a lot of space to work with going forward. We've got 12,000 liters of water storage in here. Currently, this is filtered water, not raw water. So it is a little bit better than coming from the city unfiltered. So it is filtered water currently. But as you guys saw, I have that 6,000 liter per day reverse osmosis system, which will be installed right here. This is my plan. We'll put the RO system here, and then we'll be installing a dosatron setup across here, which will be servicing the 8 flower rooms all from one dosatron setup, since everything will be on the same nutrient schedule. We'll be changing some things up with these 2 water tanks because currently they're filled with filtered water. We want them to be filled with RO, reverse osmosis water, which will be feeding the dosatron setup and then going to the flower rooms. A little change that we're gonna make is putting the outlets of the water tanks at the back of the room, since there is space back there, because we don't want any staff or anybody to step on these or fall on these, break it. Any mistake that might happen in the future, we're trying to prevent. So having the outlets at the back of the room where nobody stands or walks will be a great improvement to the space, along with connecting the two tanks together back at the back with one pump. So we have 12,000 liters of the same exact RO water going into the pump always. As we go back here, this is the green piping. This is currently the filtered water from outside. So we'll feed the RO system filter with that filtered water. So from that green pipe, it'll come over to our RO system, which we will show you in the future, but just giving you a visualization or my plan or what I see in my head. So the RO filter will be here, fed from that filtered water, which will then be fed into the water tanks. So we have RO storage water in here. Our outlets will be at the back of the room, which will then come over to our dosatron setup. So we have our plant nutrient here and our stock tanks of part A, B, C, whatever nutrient line we use in the future. You guys will see that in the future. So our dosatron setup here, and then it will come out of the dosatron, and then we will switch this line, because this line currently goes to flower rooms 1, 2, 3, and 4. A little change that we're gonna have to make is continue this line across the grow facility to service both 5, 6, 7, and 8 flower rooms. Over here, you can see another water line that goes out, which currently feeds the rooms 5, 6, 7, and 8. We are going to modify this line so we have the filtered water from the green. It'll continue across the room around into this line, which will then go around the facility, and we'll have the filtered water at every single room, so we can use that for cleaning in the future. And then, as you can see, the line on the other side of this room will also go to all the flower rooms, but it will be nutrient line. Okay, sorry if you got a little confused, as that was a lot of explaining to do in the irrigation room, but we'll head down to the processing area. So down the hallway, we have a clone room. The 3 staff are currently making me clones in there, see what their skills are like and how their success rate on rooting clones. So we'll see that in the future. I just don't want to go in there right now as they're working. In here, we have one person's working here. We got the flower or the mother plants in here getting clones taken. So super healthy in here so far. We got 3 strains. Just a quick look in there, but we'll go over the plants later on in the future. Inventory room, just a room with shelves so we can put our finished product in there. As we go over here, the trimming room, will be hand trimming. We do have some other plans, but to get started, this is the trimming room. And then next to here is the dry room. Pretty big space. I don't like the hanging system that they used. It's not very effective or efficient for the grow space in here or the dry space in here. Very undersized for the dehumidification in here also, just like all the other rooms in here. So we will be improving that by adding more dehumidification, along with a hanging system which utilizes 3 layers. Currently they only have 2 layers, 1, 2. So the hanging system that we'll be using in the future will go 3 layers high, and then we'll be able to harvest 2 of the flower rooms at the same time. Currently, they only put 1 flower room in here at a time, because with this hanging system, there was not enough space in here. Have to know some product knowledge, what solutions are on the market to really utilize your facility and operations to really maximize your production and efficiency and workflow in here. So that's pretty much the entire facility walk around tour. We'll throw up all the cinematic shots at the beginning and the end throughout this entire walkthrough. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the new space. Let's head over to Pattaya, 2 hours away, so we'll take a quick drive over there and go over the 300 light facility that you guys seen on the channel before. And if you're new on the channel, I do have 3 different facilities, which I'll all be showing. Okay guys, we're in Pattaya at the 300 light commercial facility. It's been a long time since you guys seen this on the channel. So we'll do a quick walkthrough to get you up to speed on what we've already done over the last couple weeks as the new partnership has been established and we're ready to get going on the operations here. So we'll just start out in the electricity area where we have our breaker panels, which we've fully designed this place for each room to have its own breaker panel. And then each breaker is its own circuit for each of the zones in each of the grow rooms. So we'll go over that a little bit more once we get into the specific rooms to really let you guys know how the circuits are dealt with. Currently, we have a 3500 kVA transformer outside the building feeding this property. So we really have unlimited electricity for the space as we build it out more and really utilize the different spaces and really maximize our harvest in here. Center of the room, clearly behind me, is the workspace and irrigation setup. And behind that is the water storage. But we'll start out right here. First room on my right is the vegetative space. It currently has 3 double tier sections, giving us 6 zones of vegetative space on its own irrigation zone for each of the spaces. We currently have 42 veg lights in here, so more than enough space for filling our flower rooms in here. It currently has a 15-ton air conditioning unit with a 50 kV electric heater attached to it, so no dehumidifiers in here. This is called a reheat system. And we've really optimized that with the Pinnacle control systems, which we'll go over in the flower rooms. So as we go out of the veg room, right behind me, in the previous videos, you would have seen all these conical 1,000 liter tanks here. We had 2 per room and a dab pump for each of the rooms. We have removed that from the veg room and flower room number 1 and really narrowed down the irrigation system since we're utilizing a dosatron going forward. So no more hand mixing nutrients into the 2,000 liters of batch tanks that we had per room. As we head into flower room number 1, you can see it's a 64 light flower room. We're using Grandmaster LED lights in here. The space is 12 meters by 12 meters or 40 feet by 40 feet. Very close metrics right there. And then 3.5 meters tall. The rooms are foam panels with steel sheet on each side of them. The walls are made from 2-inch and the ceiling is made from 6-inch. All that needs to be done in here is finishing off the trellis netting support poles, just a couple more tables of that, and this room is ready to go other than adding the under table floor fans, which we do have in flower room number 2. One difference between flower room number 1 and flower room number 2 is we're adding 2 dehumidifiers. I'll throw up on the screen right now the dehumidifiers that we're using. They are floor units and combined with our HVAC system, which is above us on outside, which is a 20-ton air conditioning unit with a 60 kilowatt electric heater to really control the dehumidification in here with that type of system. We did run into issues in previous runs that we did not have enough dehumidification in here, so that's why we're adding the 2 floor dehumidifiers in here to really be able to control all the way to the end of flower, because the last 2 to 3 weeks we did have some issues with not being able to control the humidity in here. So that's a problem solved for in here. Let's head over to flower room number 2 and talk a little bit more about that space. So in flower room number 2, this is a little bit different designed room than flower room number 1, just because of the scenario that we're in currently. In here, we still have the 20-ton air conditioning unit with the 60 kilowatt electric heater. Although in here, instead of using the floor dehumidifiers, we have added 4 air conditioning wall units, which are 3-ton each, so extra 12-ton of air conditioning power to really maximize this 60 kilowatt electric heater that we have in the HVAC system above us. So no dehumidifiers in this space at all, and we're able to control the environment super steady all the way to harvest in here. No other issues in here. This room is 100%. We got the Pinnacle control system in here, utilizing all the equipment in here. The one thing that we are changing in here is our CO2 outlets. Previously, we only had 1 outlet connected to the fan above me. We're gonna switch that up to have multiple outlets around the room for a more even ppm dispersion across the entire room. I don't currently have the floor fans in here, but we have 4 floor fans across the room, 1 in each corner, creating a nice vortex under the tables. It's very important to have super high airflow under the tables, which allows the air above the canopy to be drawn through the canopy and below to fully even out the environment, because you really don't want any type of microclimates in your grow space, creating mold, powdery mildew, pests, all types of things like that. All the lights are on light movers, so we can move them up and down with the touch of a button. I don't think the breakers are on right now. We'll give a shot moving the light movers so you guys get a good idea. There you go. So we can go down with the lights to really even out the PPFD at the canopy level, depending on the strain that we have in each of the zones or each of the tables. Combined with the 0 to 10 volt control of the dimming the lights and the light moving up and down, we can narrow it down to perfect amount. Behind me is a room that wasn't shown on the channel, I don't think much or even at all, but now it is our water storage and nutrient room. The lighting is not good in here, but we'll try and give you some B-roll over top with better lighting. Our RO system that we're adding, previously we're using city water without any filtration, although we did have some success with that. The real way to go about things is our RO system. So this is a 6,000 liter RO system. Behind me is two 5,000 water tanks, which will be filled with the RO water out of this filter system. There is a dab pump behind there connected to these two water tanks, which will be feeding our dosatron located at the front wall. You see that we're leaving this open space at the front of the room, which will have the air handlers for our upgraded HVA system when we build out flower room number 3, which is on the other side of this wall here. But overall, we've added the ceiling in here. Before it was just open to the warehouse around us. So we've added foam paneling on the ceiling along with the back wall. So this is a fully sealed room with the air conditioning in here, which will keep at 18 degrees Celsius. Let's move over to flower room number 3. Pretty empty in here in flower room number 3. I think I've shown you this quite a few times on the channel, but all the electricity has been done, so it is ready for grow equipment. We do have a plan to build out both flower room number 3 and flower room number 4 in about 3 to 4 months once the other 2 rooms are operating and filled with plants. One thing that you'll notice in this entire facility that I didn't show in the previous videos is the epoxy flooring. So during that partnership change, this is one of the things that was done to get ready for GACP certification at this facility. In the Bangkok facility, we are already EU GACP and Thai GACP, so we are available for export into the medical market. So pretty clean room, ready to go. We'll get over to number 4. It's pretty much the same setup, but want to give you guys a good update on everything just so we know where we're moving or where we're going in the future. Before we head into flower room number 4, we'll talk about the new batch tank system for each of the rooms. So we have a 1,000 liter batch tank here, cone bottom, so easy for cleaning and whatnot. Each room will have 1 tank and 1 large dab pump to service the 64 light flower room next to it. 1 for flower room number 2 right there, and then 1 for flower room number 1. Very easy system. The dosatron feeds the tank. We keep it at a good optimal level. It will fill and lower as our sensor requires. And then we have a recirculation valve that's automated also, so we can recirculate the nutrients inside the tank every hour or 2 or whatever we set it at. Super simple setup, 1 for each of the rooms, and then we'll add another 2 on the other side of the room for flower room number 3 and flower room number 4. So as we go into flower room number 4, you can see it's pretty much the exact same setup as flower room number 3. Super empty, but clean and overall ready to go for the build out. Again, it just needs tables, HVAC systems, and grow lights. So super happy to get to this point with the epoxy flooring all done. As we work our way to the front of the property or the front of the building, you can notice that we walked in a circle. So that's to optimize and make the process most efficient for the staff on knowing where the plants start and then where the plants end. This front area to the center room will be more of a cocoa storage, grow equipment storage, or grow item storage and workspace. So if we need to do transplanting here, it will be located in this space right here. Right behind me is the drying rooms. Dry room number 1 and number 2. Previously, when we showed this on the channel, it was 1 large room, but we designed this space to be 2 rooms originally. So that's why all the electricity was done as a 2 room. It just didn't have that center wall in between the 2 rooms. During the last month or 2 in our planning, we ended up getting the walls installed in between the 2 rooms. along with a door accessing the trim room right next to us. Each of these rooms will be able to fit one of the flower rooms. So if we ever have any overlapping, we're able to dry one room and dry a second room at the same time without affecting either the harvest. This is the second flower room. We will be hopefully utilizing the dry flower hanging harvest system. I'll put a link to their website in the video description below. We're working together on some designs on how to utilize both these dry rooms and the Bangkok dry rooms to really make the harvesting and drying process the most efficient, less labor involved as possible. This we had set up as a pallet racking system for them, but we will be switching that over to a quick connect system just because it's a little bit more efficient, uses the space a lot better. So as we go through the door, we would be taking our dry flower off the hanging racks and then moving directly into the trim space. This is quite a large trim space. We might be splitting this room off for a storage room and then really processing the flower over here. Hope you guys like that walkthrough of the entire property here. Being quite some time showing this property on the channel, but super happy that it's back and we are making great progress. And from here on out, you guys are going to be seeing updates from this space going forward no matter what. Hopefully we stick to the schedule of 1 video per week. After the plants get in the room, once we start growing, there is no stopping like previously. So super excited to get these updates to you guys as much as possible. All right guys, we're over here at the greenhouse property. It's been quite some time since I've updated you on this place. We just needed a few things worked out before we got some projects worked on over here, but I have been working on this property in the background. Sorry about the traffic noise behind us, as this is a busy street that's constantly having cars go back and forth. We'll start out right at the front of the property. This is the kitchen area that was here by the previous owners. We're not sure what we'll be using this area for, but we have removed like the 40,000 fabric pots that we had here, along with selling off a bunch of the greenhouse fans that we won't be using. The remaining fans, the big ones, we will be utilizing as we build out the greenhouses at the back of the property later on. So that's pretty much all it's here at the start. We still have the storage room getting utilized right now with all my grow equipment from above the cafe, which you guys saw 1 year's worth of trial and errors there. We did end up having a little success there with some harvest, but we are utilizing that grow equipment here now. So everything's stored in there for right now. You guys did see when I first got this property, this entire space was filled with perlite from top to bottom, front to back. So as you can see, it's all gone right now. Just need the final cleanup and sweeping to really be able to utilize this space. We've got rid of hydroponic plastic pots at the back there. A bunch of the vermiculite's already gone. So super excited to be able to use this space pretty soon. I think within the next 2 weeks, we'll be fully utilizing this entire property to somewhat be productive. Behind that is our irrigation room. We will be fully redoing this. I think in the previous sections in this video, you guys already saw me redo the irrigation room in both the Bangkok facility and the Vegetative facility. And this one will be no different. We'll be using dosatrons here to feed the greenhouses on an automated irrigation system. So let's take a walk to the back of the property. As you can see, we've got some ground crew here right now cleaning off the grass, and then they're going to be doing a weed spray across everything. So the ground crew behind me is the first step in this project on this property, getting all the weeds cut down. It was probably up to my shoulder over the last 2 to 3 months as our dealings had to get finalized. So no maintenance was done over here. It really got overgrown. This is the first step. The next step, once they get rid of all the weeds, they'll be fully leveling the ground, making sure there's no pits or ups and downs, whatever you call it. And then we'll be putting a fabric barrier down on the ground, along with 6 centimeters of gravel to get started. We'll see how that goes. We might add more gravel in the future to make it thicker, so there's no chances of any organic growth growing up through it. The 4 greenhouses that only have the top covered right now, we won't be utilizing this space right away, but they will be covered with the gravel across the entire ground before we get started. We're gonna utilize our first greenhouse at the start, which you guys did see me rebuild on the channel when I first got this property. So all that needs to be done on that first greenhouse behind me is the entire ground inside being leveled out with the gravel and putting a 30% shade cloth across the top to reduce the sun since it's so strong here and hopefully help with the heat build up inside the greenhouses. As you can see, we have 4 large fans in there, which does an amazing job already. The temperature down inside the greenhouse. We don't even have our wet wall at the back turned on, so that will be a another step on being able to control the environment inside. So let's head back up to the front of the property where the indoor rooms are. As we head back to the front of the property, right in the section I'm standing in right now is just covered in scrap metal and aluminum that had a complete 6th greenhouse located on the ground. A lot of it was damaged, so we didn't want to utilize it, so I just sent it all off to scrap. Behind me, you can see the location where we did our Blem Genetics breeding project, where we crossed Blizzard of Oz with about 15 other strains, along with pheno hunting a couple of different strains, both in the same section. So the seeds we will be testing on the channel pretty soon. It's just too hot here with the black ground cover and the intense sun in summertime, so the flower was not the best quality, but it was good for the breeding project and also testing to see what type of pests we run into on this property without any IPM treatments or any pest control. Behind me is a dry room, which is fully set up already. We might utilize that as a clone room in the future because this property is going to be only nursery. So the first greenhouse will be filled with mother plants, and we'll be doing the cloning inside these rooms behind me. No flowering will be done on this property other than the R&D rooms. Okay, so as we walk into the indoor rooms, the first room behind me will be utilized as the irrigation room for the 2 flower rooms, which are only 2 lights in each of them. So pretty small rooms, but they will be utilized very efficiently to do pheno hunting, breeding projects, and testing new grow equipment or even growing styles in here before we switch those over into the large commercial facilities in Bangkok and Pattaya. So you can see it's pretty set up already. Just need to do an irrigation setup in here to automate that. Otherwise, it's ready to go other than electrical for the outlets and whatnot, because the electricity on this property was pretty questionable, so I ripped it all out. As you can see on the ground here, we already got our breaker panel ready to go for this specific building. This will have a 100 amp service in here, and then the buildings behind me and around this building will have another 100 amps. So you can see the dab pumps we have for both of the rooms, for fully automated irrigation setup in here, and possibly a small dosatron hobby setup so you guys can see what can be utilized at your home instead of a commercial facility like the other buildings we have. So this is a much smaller scale, much more relatable, so you guys can copy this kind of setup at your home garage or a spare bedroom. The section behind me was also filled with perlite. If you guys remember from the earlier videos of this property, I did rebag it to 100 bags, and unfortunately the 12 stray dogs that we have on the property at nighttime ripped all those bags out open, so you can see the big mess behind me of all the garbage that we ended up having over that time. So I just left it be until we were able to sell it all off as a package deal to another farm in the area, which I was super happy about, to have all the space back. This specific area that I'm standing under will be a future R&D room, so we'll be switching this to probably 2 20 light rooms in here for flowering, for testing genetics, any breeding projects and all that stuff once we're fully established. So this property will be a full R&D and nursery in the future. So we are super happy to have Blem Genetics on this property and its title name for here. Back here behind the buildings and the cocoa and whatnot we have is just some outdoor space. We're not sure what we're going to utilize back here for, but it's just extra property back here. We might have to end up building another building for storage and processing, so this might be a good location for that. But again, this is just the start of the project. Lots going on over here. In the next video you guys will see, it will have the complete ground cover all done and gravel all over, which is actually the biggest problem on this property is pests, rats, like spider mites, any type of rodents and stuff. So once all this grass is cut and the gravel is down, we'll reduce all that tremendously. Hope you guys like that walkthrough of the Blem Genetics greenhouse property. That's what we're going to be calling it going forward. Let me know any thoughts you guys think about this property, any improvements you guys want to see, or what you even like about it. Let's head over to Bangkok to the 600 light GACP certified facility, which we will be able to export out of. So super excited to show you guys that and all the updates we've got done over the last couple weeks. So let's take a walk through, get you guys up to date on everything that we've got accomplished over the last couple weeks since taking over this place. We'll start off here in the veg room. We have planned now that this is going to be a flower room number 9 for the facility. Flower number 9 currently is across the hall. We're going to be renovating that into a different space, so we'll go over those details once we head over there. So currently there's 176 veg lights in here, double tier. We're going to remove all of that and turn this into a single level flower room, which is going to have 8, maybe 9 benches of 17 lights for each bench. So you guys can do the math on how big this space is, which we will need a second dry room to be able to utilize this flower space in the dry rooms, because currently with the current flower space that we have with a single dry room, we will not be able to add an extra flower space. So adding the second dry space will keep this place to maximum production. So no other changes in here, just a plan. So let's head down the center hallway and give you some updates that we got going on. Behind me, there is still some junk back here that we're not going to utilize, but we have gotten rid of a bunch of different additives, nutrients, and products the previous owners used, which we are not going to be utilizing in our future endeavors in here. So let's head down to flower room number 1 and 2, which we're going to be utilizing these rooms as a double flower room. So it'll be flower room number 1A and flower room number 1B. Just on the same cycle, always might have different plants in each, but they will be on the same cycle, same transplant time, same flower time. Just flower room 1A will be having the lights on during the daytime, and flower room B will have the lights on at nighttime. So they'll be utilizing the same irrigation setup for both rooms, which won't have to irrigate both rooms at the same time, since they are offset. In this space, all that we've changed is removed all the wall oscillating fans in here. As you can see, there's currently no fans in here. Today we just got our delivery of V-flow fans, so we're gonna put 4 V-flow fans on the ceiling above the lights to really maximize the airflow above the canopy, above the lights, and really control the environment even across this entire long room. Having a long room like this makes it challenging to keep the environment stable or completely even from the front of the room to the middle and the back. So we're really splitting this space into 2 in the center and then spreading the air depending if it's below the table or above the table, which direction it will airflow. In here we have a dehumidifier at the back of the room, and we're gonna have the same one at the front of the room because there was not enough dehumidification in these rooms from the previous operators. Another thing that we have added to this room is down in the center of the room, under the tables, there are 6-inch can fans under there pointed in each direction. So we'll have airflow under the table going each direction, and above the lights will be going the opposite direction to create a nice vortex in the room of air circulation. The fans under the table might not be big enough, but we are gonna run them as it is and then upgrade if needed in the future. So that's all that's changed in here. Not much else other than automating the irrigation system, since they did hand water in here, the entire facility by the previous owners. Seen by the calculation, the air conditioning was the proper sizing, but we'll go over that as we get growing. So currently, this is our control space for each of the rooms for 1A and 1B. We have a single dab pump mini that will feed both of the rooms. We have it recirculating into the tank, which our tank is fed by the dosatrons in our irrigation room, which we'll go over as we get around to that space. So 2 electronic valves controlled by our control system here that's designed by my recently new partner. He's gonna handle the technical side of things in the business, and I will be able to focus on the growing techniques, the clones, and all that established in the facility. So that's a control system for there. So as we head into 1B, this one has the dehumidifiers in it already, both at the front and the back, along with the oscillating fans all removed. Only thing in here is getting the drip emitters installed, and then the V-flow fans, which just arrived today, obviously, which I just told you. So as we walk down, here's our extra dehumidifiers just waiting to go in each of the rooms. Currently, we're setting up this half of the facility, so the 4 rooms, which is really gonna be 2 flower rooms. As we go on, all the rooms are the exact same currently. Each of these rooms have 42 lights at its current state as how we took on this project. We're actually gonna upgrade that to 51 light, as that's the actual spacing of these grow tables that should have for a perfectly even canopy across the entire room from the front to the back. But we're gonna get a couple runs, maybe 1 or 2 runs of these lights that came with the facility to see how everything operates and what we can accomplish with them. And then we will upgrade with better lights in the future. Just need to get this place operating and see what works and what doesn't before spending the extra money. Let's head over to the other room. Since they are all identical, I don't have much to show you. Again, this currently is rooms 3 and 4. We will be naming this 2A and 2B, single control system, single irrigation setup. Each of the rooms have a little bit more than the other as we work our way down the facility. As you can see here, the irrigation has not been fully completed, which I will be doing later today. We just need to connect the valves to the tank outside and then again to the table. So currently each of the lights in these rooms are 850 watts. I don't think the light spectrum is ideal on that side of the facility, but as you can see from these lights being on, a little bit different spectrum, not as yellow. It has the blues and reds in there. The other ones are more yellow spectrum, but we will see our harvest and the quality. Again, we're just gonna use it for 1 or 2 harvests and then upgrade to better lights in the future. Over here, you can see all the oscillating fans that the previous owners had along the walls. I believe that produces a lot of wind stress on the plants and direct airflow on the colas of the plant, so not ideal. That's the reason we're removing the oscillating fans and moving to V-flow fans above the lights. We could really see in this facility, as you go around to each room, the placement of the oscillating fans. They're really questioning what's the best location for those. So we're just gonna get rid of them and move to what I believe is the better setup. We've already started taking down all the fans in this space. As you can see, there are placed a little bit higher than the previous room that we were just in. So this one is right at the light level. Previously, they had these lights below the fans, so it made for a very low canopy, reducing the harvest numbers that you could get out of here. So that was another challenge that they were experiencing, I believe. I don't know, but that's just from my view. Right here, we have our first load of cocoa. We are using 1 gallon quick fill, loose fill cocoa. I've been using them for 3 years now. No issues with the cocoa at all. This is triple washed and EC balanced. So we provide this to other farms in the area also. This is room 7 over here. A little bit different fan placement. Here we have the fans completely above the grow table support systems. And in this room, they actually added 2 dehumidifiers to the room, pointing either direction, one to the front, one to the back. They said that improved their ability to control environment in here, but still was not enough power to really keep the humidity down. We're gonna do our stand-up dehumidifiers, which I calculated correctly, and we'll be able to control the entire environment and the humidity all the way to harvest and be able to drop our temperatures later in flower as we get closer to the harvest time. So over here on flower room number 8, we are still making some progress on this side of the facility, even though that we're not going to be growing in here probably for another 2 months or so. We still want to get this place worked out as we go on and have the staff continuously busy, as we did purchase this property with 3 staff. So we're keeping those 3 staff employed and they're actually helping us understand some of the aspects of the building that weren't fully communicated to us when purchasing it. But otherwise, the previous owners have been great and are still on board to really work through different situations or any questions we have. So thanks for them for staying on board for a few months while we take over this space. Again, all the oscillating fans are being removed so we can put the V-flow fans in here. These lights are similar to the lights previously. It seems like the right side of the facility used this style light and the left side of the facility has a more yellow spectrum to it. And then the veg room has a completely different light in there. So I think there's 5 different style lights on the property, but eventually we're gonna have a facility filled with one exact same light. So that'll be very good to get to. So the flower room number 9 over here, which I mentioned previously, is going to be moved to the other side of the facility, which is the veg, and the flower room number 1 will actually be flipped. So this is our future veg room. I'm not gonna go in there just because there's no electricity right now. And this actually had a fire in there previously. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, but everything's being replaced, all the panels, all the grow equipment in there. We're actually gonna utilize this
space as 3 different spaces. The first will be veg space, the second will be a trimming and processing space, and behind that will be a dry space to mirror the dry space right next to it. So good idea to maximize this entire facility to really increase the flower production, and our veg space is lowered to a more optimal level for the grow environment that we have here. So let's head down the hallway where we have our processing and clone room. First room on the left is our water storage room or nutrient room. Since now we've introduced the dosatron setup here, automated system, so the workload on the staff is more manageable, where their knowledge is more important. They can do the readings of all the irrigation setups in each of the rooms, take readings out of the growing medium of the runoff, and really focus their efforts over there. In here, we've introduced a RO system. Previously, they were just using filtered water from the city going into here and then watering the plants. Now we have filtered water coming from the city, loading our 6,000 liter RO water system, and that gets fed into our 6,000 liter water tanks behind us. So we have 12,000 liters of RO water storage in this room alone. We have our Athena nutrients here on our storage shelves, which will be able to stack up a couple runs of Athena nutrients, being able to never run into any shortages or shipping issues because we'll be able to stock them on hand here. It's climate controlled. We got AC in here. It will be at 18 degrees Celsius or whatever that is in Fahrenheit, as low as possible for that AC system to really keep the water in check. We have our stock tanks, and then any growing supplies back here will be stocked up. That way the staff can keep operating without any questions. The next room beside this is our clone room. It is quite full, as it's currently housing all the clones for not only this facility, but the potato 300 light facility over there. So quite a full room. Let's go over the strains. Miracle Fruits, Super Good, Lemon Orange, Velvet Moon, Sugar Ray Leonard. I forget this one. It starts with an M. It came with the facility from the previous owners. Full Gas, Candy Cartel, Devil's Cherries. I think that's all the strains in here. But as you can see, super healthy in here. We did order all these clones from different suppliers in Thailand. So they are a little bit different ages, came on schedule, but wrong amounts, came late, all different types of scenarios. So that's why it's very important for us to get the Blem Genetics greenhouse property operating so we can be on time all the time and have the best quality clones for our operations and strain selection. We just made do with what was available on hand at the time. So this is what we're going to be running with going forward. One thing we got going on in here to utilize that I've utilized in all my grow spaces before is the Pulse Pro right here. So we have one sensor right at canopy level, giving us all the data collection that we need for any alerts in the space going forward. I'll throw up on the screen the snapshot of the current condition in here. It might be a little bit high for humidity, as there is no humidity control in here other than a single air exchanger that goes out to the warehouse behind me. So we will be redoing this room completely, but right now we're just utilizing it as it currently stands because we have no other space to hold our clones currently. Big shout out to Pulse, as they support the channel for the last few years and will continue being our partner going forward. You can use the discount code terpyhighs on any of the Pulse products on their website. I'll leave a link in the video description below, so check them out after the video. Big shout out to them. Hope you guys like that little walkthrough of the Bangkok facility. As you can see behind me, this is a super big project combined with the potato facility, the 300 light space. We got a lot going on right now, and the greenhouse property. I'm excited to show you guys all these rooms filled up in the next video. As you guys already saw, we do have plants on deck ready to be transplanted. So in the next video, get excited to see the transplanting and all these rooms operating along with the greenhouse property. Until next time, happy growing everyone, and remember to get out there and make it happen.